Hi again, welcome to part 2 of sorting out this roller drive on this Honda HRD536, and also going forward I'll be putting a carburetor on it and sorting out some other little issues. But at the moment, if you saw part 1, I've been dealing with a very rusty roller system, and I'm getting it all sorted now. A lot of the bit, well, everything's sort of freed up now and sort of de-rusted the best I can do it. So now I'm going to take the gearbox apart. I've already I've loosened that one already. I've took the little bottom guard off already. So I've got that and that to undo. And then we can split it. Oh, and a circle off there as well. I think it's probably still got oil in it. I thought it leaked it all out because I thought the actual gearbox had seized. And it transpires that, yeah, that wasn't the case. It was bearings on the end of the rollers, which was the main culprit of that. So, yeah, the gearbox isn't actually in too bad a condition around the bottom, but I shall still put in grease, some runny grease, when I put it back together, just in case them seals leak or something. I'm not going to put new seals in, because if I start going that way, new seals, and then there's another seal that goes around inside like a gasket, the cost goes up, and I don't want to spend that much money on this. And the grease will work perfectly fine and stay in the gearbox better as well if it does spring a leak. Yeah, the grease isn't going to come out nowhere near like oil's going to. So I'm just going to take that circlip off there. Tools here, so I'll just get that off. Yep. So I've got the impact here. It might not come undone. That one does. That one doesn't. I don't want to ring these off, so I was risking a bit with the impact, but that little impact hasn't got that much go in it really. I don't want them to snap. If I have to, I could put a little bit of heat on them, but let's hope that doesn't have to be the case, because I prefer not to heat it up, because there is like a rubber gasket in there. I'll take that off as well while we're at it. Just goes through like that, and there's just a nut on the end. So yeah, we've got to undo them. I'm not going to do no harm to put a little bit of WD on the end, but it's not going to really do much good either. It's not really going to help too much, but not going to do any harm. If they do start to come out, it might help it a little bit. We don't want to snap these, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if we did, because I could drill them out and just nut and bolt them, but I prefer not to have to do that. That is not looking too hopeful, that one. Let's go for that one. Problem is with these roller systems, they're sitting in the moisture all the time really. I think they're going to snap. Or has that started to move? I'm going to put a bit of heat on them. I might get lucky. I've heated that one up and that actually come undone. So I'm going to try and show you this one doing the same, hopefully. Hopefully it'll work. I thought once the sort of bolt cracked, I thought I'd wrung it off. It felt like it had gone too easy, but then it just come undone. So as a result on that one, I didn't give it much heat, so we'll go the same process on this one. Think we've got enough heat? Let's give it a go. Like I said, if it did snap, it's not the end of the world, because where it's positioned, I can just put nut and bolt in, but I don't want to have to mess around with that. Ah, it's gone. Lovely. Don't really want to heat the aluminium too much, really, but that was just enough, and they're both undone. So it means the whole lot of the bolts are all okay. I haven't got to do any drilling or any messing around jobs. If you haven't got one, if you dabble with these sort of things, you know, mowers in general, get yourself one of these. It's a Rothenberger, rubbed off a bit. Super fire, I think it is. And yeah, just runs off the, just see that, the map gas. So yeah, it gets you out of difficulty quite often. Use it quite often. You can see come out fine now. So we are going to be ready to take this cover off. I think I'm going to leave it in the vise to do that. Oh, I might not be able to unless it does loosen off itself. Yeah, well, I think it might come off, but it might be a bit difficult coming off of there. Apologise, my hands are in the way. I'll just get a screwdriver lightly in there just to sort of ease it a little bit. Sometimes just hold it for a second. Not quite, that's it. That's actually something inside. Sorry, even this. Yeah. This is the things I don't know. There's not gear in it. That's okay. Moving round on there. Perhaps another little tap, but any time now oil could leak out of it. What I'm going to actually do, I'm going to just take it away. I'm going to drain the oil out of it because I can now, it's split, and then I'll get it back here and then we'll take the rest of it off. I've drained some oil out of it. You can just see there wasn't a lot really, but it hasn't got much oil in it now, if any. So let's see if we can get this off. Still prefer to get it off by levering it off. It seems to be coming the other way now, pulling out from that way. Perhaps I've just got to tap it. We'll go like this. Nearly there. So that should come off now. There we have it. See, quite clean in there. So it's a little bit dirty there, but I'll just give that a bit of a clean up and that should be fine. So now let's look in the gearbox. That is clean. They're not usually as clean as that inside. They're more sort of gunkier in that. See how clean that oil is. So, don't know whether this mower's done a lot of work in his life or not. Judging by the rollers, they looked pretty decent still. I do think it might have spent a lot of its life sitting around. So we have that. Shim comes off. And then I can pull that off. Ah, and I think it's dog clutch, which I do have one of in the drawer. So I was hoping that was going to be the case so I can get this done so I don't have to wait for parts. So we get that off. Yep, that just slides off like that. Chain like that. Yeah, so that piece there can come all the way out like that, and then I can get the dog clutch out and we'll have a look at that. I want to push that back in at the moment because there is a washer underneath that big gear. I don't want that falling out of place. So if I can just, yeah, put that back in. So I'll put that to the side at the moment. The dowel did fall out as well. I'll put that in its place, which is in there. And there is another one, and that is there. So just put that to the side, and then we'll have a look at this dog clutch. And there is wear on it. You can see wear there, see wear there, there, and there on them all. So I have, like I said, got a brand new one in the drawer, which I bought for a mower actually of mine, which I never have fixed yet. So at the moment I'll use that one and I'll get this back together quite quick. What I'm going to do now is going to get everything cleaned off, give it a good clean down, and then when I'm putting the new one of these back in, I'll bring you back in then, and then we'll get this all done, bolted back together, and then ready to go back on the shaft with the rollers, and then we can get the drive system sorted. Now I've got the new bit, and that's good because that's the right one I need. So firstly I'm going to fill this with some of this grease. and pack it right out with it, and then fit that after I've packed with grease in that part, and then I'll get the chain back on afterwards. So you can watch me do that. I'll speed you up. You've seen me pack that part out with grease. So what I'm going to do now is remove that there. And then I'm going to put that on there. Like that. This is take two because I got very mucky. I needed another glove. So I've got that on now. So let me get that in place. Yep. Like that. And now, when I drop that in, that goes in that slot, and then that should fit in the hole in the bottom. We're there. I'm sure if you do it, you could probably make less mess than me. I made a bit of a mess of that, but it's okay. I can clean it all off around the side, so that's fine. It is mucky old stuff. You know, usually grease is quite sort of more solid than this. It's just real runny stuff. But that's why it works well in these Mower gearboxes. So what I'm going to carry on doing now is just packing it with grease and then put the chain back on. I'll show you me doing that at speed, and then yeah, we can get the edge cleaned up and then the top bolted back on. So now I'm going to get the chain and that sprocket back on. On this particular one, I have got in a bit of a mess with it, but it can be all cleaned up. Really want to pack out as much grease as I possibly can. Just got to locate that where it's got to go into. Oh, there we go. So as you can see now, there's quite a lot of grease in there. I will just pack a bit more in, sort of above the chain, and then I'll give it a clean up. There is that shim to go in on there. There is a shim on there as well, but I never actually took that off, or if I did, I put it back on earlier. So there's one there as well. Now I've got it filled with grease as much as I want it to be, so that's all okay. I have cleaned up around the edge a bit. There is still a little bit of grease in that groove, but I'm going to use that to my advantage to stick this rubber ring in with. So I'll just get that in place. We'll just give it one more wipe on the surface afterwards. Like I said before, as it's not oil, it's not going to run out like oil would run out, so it'll be fine. If you are doing this job like this and you're going to use this grease, I would advise you to have plenty of this blue roll and plenty of disposable gloves, because it is a mucky job. I'm happy with that. I think that'll be okay. So I'm just going to slip this cover back on now. So just make sure your shims are in place. There is one there, and then there's one you can probably just see there. So inside the gearbox, we should be all good. Yep, that is all good. So let's get that back on and make sure just before we put them back on that the dowels are in place. Should push on okay. Shouldn't have to give it a tap. Might have to give it a slight little tap. It's all in place now, so that's good. I'm just gonna put some of the screws back in, or the bolts. So they go there. So now it's to the stage where I can actually give it a little test, but what I'm going to do is clear up a little bit first because it's too greasy and horrible on here at the moment. I have just put the nut on the bottom of that piece as well. Yeah, because I can try it even though the bottom bolts aren't in, because that little cover bit hasn't, my guard hasn't been fixed yet. So, but yeah, I'll show you it working. I've cleaned this gearbox up now. It's a lot less greasy now. So yeah, you can see that's turning now. So as that's turning, the engine's turning this shaft, the driver's working. So what should happen is when I move that lever down, it shouldn't turn. So it isn't turning now. When I pull that on, as if your handle's being pulled and it's pulling the cable, you have drive. So that all looks to be good. But that's turning there. Just moved it off. Not turning. Back on. And it's turning. So that's the gearbox side of things done. Still got to put that guard on, but I've managed to find an okay one. It's still on the gearbox at the moment. I'll take it off in a minute and I'll get that on there, so I haven't got to repair the one that come off of this, but I will repair it and just put it in the drawer as a spare, because 9 out of 10 times they are worn through. So yeah, it's good to have a spare in the drawer all ready for when I need one. So yeah, I can put the gearbox really apart from that to the side, and then basically things can start to go back together, and then we can get this gearbox and drive system back on the mower and then sort out the other bits. Now I have the shaft on the bench and it's ready to get everything back together. All I've done is put a new washer on there. It's like a wavy washer. I had a brand new one in the drawer, so yeah, put that on first. That's what it should have at that end, and then the long roller should go on, so I'll get that. There we have it. But just before I put that on, I'm just going to smear a bit of grease along there. I'm not going to put too much on there, just basically a bit to protect it a little bit. So the easiest way is just to do it like that. Just a bit on there. So now I should be able to push this roller on like that. It should slide on there quite nicely, which it has. So there we have it. It's gone on nicely. And we've got to put the circlip on next. So now I've got to put that circlip deep in there. Well, it's in there probably an inch or two, and then it has to have a washer on top. So you've just got to sort of feel it in place really. So I'll just put this back on the bench. And then I'll get it on there for a start. Then I'll see if I can hold the torch at the end for you to see it in place. So I'll get a clip down. Down there. I've gone past the first one there. That's got to go in afterwards, after the gearbox is in place. So now I find the easiest way to do this is to pick it up and put it upright. Let's have a look. You might be able to sort of see. You can just see if you look in there. There's a slight little line. I'll just get something to point to it with. Just on the end there, you just sort of see a line, and that's where it's got to be located into. So I'll try to do that. I said this bit is a bit tricky. think it's in place. Just turn it around. Yep, that's in. Now that's in, I have just checked and it is in the groove okay, so that's all good. So I'm going to lay this down on the bench again now and put the washer in, and then we can get the gearbox on. Now the circlip's in, I'm going to put this washer along there, and that's got to go up against that circlip, so I'll just push that in there. And that is in place. So now the gearbox can go on. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease along there, but not too far along, because that's the other groove there for the other circlip, and I don't want to get that all in a mess until I've put that on, even though the bit of grease I've already put in the gearbox for the roller bearings will drag along there a bit, but it won't be too bad. I'm not going to smother it with grease there, because I want to get that circlip in before I finally grease that bit up. Now I have the gearbox there, I'm ready just to put a little bit of grease on there. Like I said, I'm not going to absolutely smother it, just put a bit on there, probably a bit more than I really wanted to, but that would be okay. So now I'm going to just put a little bit on there, just going to double check that's the right way that goes in, because it could go either way, but this is the right way like that. And I have put that guard on at the bottom, and that was a good second-hand one I had, so that saved me repairing the other one, saved a bit of time. That will be pretty good there. Push the grease a little bit, but that'd be okay. I didn't want too much on it, like I said, so that's okay there. So now I have the other washer to go on, and I've got to make sure I can see where the other circlip goes. So we'll just push that washer along, and then I get this other circlip. See if I can just push that on with a screwdriver now. I think it's gone in. Pretty sure it has. I have just double checked that circlip, and because that washer on the other end, the wavy washer, it's a bit spring loaded, so if you put your hand up on the far end and push the shaft through to sort of basically make a bit more space there, you can just make sure it's properly in that circlip, and it is now. Yeah, I'll just show you, because that's the spring washer up that end in there. If you push the shaft like that, sort of through the roller that way, it'll just push it out enough so you can got a slight gap between the circlip and there, and then you can just make sure that circlip is tightly in place where it should be, and I have just done that and it is all good. So now I can get that other roller on. Now we have the small roller. This is the one that was very seized, this bearing, but that's okay now. So we'll get that slid on. There we go. So that's in place. That's a roller system back together, apart from this end piece that has to go on, but that doesn't go on till I put it back on the mower. So I'm going to leave this part here. I think the roller's all good. I won't know for sure until it's back on the lawnmower working under load. So in part 3, I'll be putting the roller system back onto the lawnmower. I'll be sorting out a carburetor for the lawnmower because that was missing, and I'll be sorting out some front wheels for the lawnmower as well because they were missing. Then I'll give it a bit of a clean, maybe a few other odd little jobs I've got to do, and then we can get it outside and give the mower a test. And then I can test the drive is working okay, the engine is working okay, the blade brake clutch is working okay, and then yeah, we can finish this mower off, clean it up and that, and then it'll be a done job. So I'm going to leave this part here, and I'll see you in part 3. So thanks for watching, and I'll be along with another video again soon. So bye for now.